Greeze, and it's called Paternity Fraud. What's going on in America with this epidemic called paternity fraud, and what more or less inspired you to talk about paternity fraud in America?
You know what? It's the craziest thing, man. I was out in the street and I ran across this a German firefighter. He's also in the film.
Right.
The firefighter, one of the white guys in there, firefighter, he kept staring at me, and I was wondering, like, why the hell does this guy keep staring at me? You know, I didn't what's going on? And he kept staring at me, and he said, "Excuse me." He approached me, came up to me, and said, "Excuse me." I said, "Yeah, what's going on?" He said, "You know, is your name Al Greeze?" Yeah, that's me. He was like, "Yo, I saw your film." Said,
right.
My film? You get frustrated. I started laughing, you know, because that wasn't my target audience. And he said, "Yo, I peeped that out. I saw it on YouTube, man. I peeped that out, man. I didn't know you lived out this way, man." I said, "Yeah, man, I just came out here, do some shopping and stuff, man." And he was like, "Man, you should do one on paternity fraud."
Right,
and,
right.
No, he didn't say paternity fraud. He said you should do something on the family court system.
Yes, sir.
If you really want to show why men, even that's what they're getting beat up at. And,
right.
So he gave me his number, and I stayed in contact with him a little bit, and then I decided to do some research. You know, after that, you got to hit the research, and
right.
You see how family court system is one of the dangerous court systems in the country. Family court, man, some bad stuff that go on there. And then when I did the research, and I saw ran across paternity fraud, and I was like, wow, this is another chapter I need to put in there. So once I did the research, man, I started to expand on that. So that's what led me to that, man. Strange events.
Well, you know, it's extremely problematic. You know, as a clinical therapist, man, we see so many different abnormalities with men associated in America. And a lot of these abnormalities, Mr. Greeze called men to be in a state of perplexity. And, you know, as a clinician, we look at the positives and the negatives, but sometimes something as dangerous as paternity fraud can leave a man in a deep state of depression. What have you seen from your observation, Al, with a lot of these men that have been impacted mentally and socially by paternity fraud?
Well, first of all, it robs a man. So you feel like you're being robbed, and when you take that issue up with the court, there's no resolution for you. There's no solution for you, but pay. You signed up for it, even though it wasn't your kid. You did something, you know, you should have found out something earlier. Since you didn't, you're still on the hook to pay for that. And, you know, that's unjust. So you go into a court system looking for justice, and you can't find any. So it robs you there, and then it robs a man of his legacy. So if I'm looking to have my own child in my legacy, I find out 5 years later, not my kid, it's not my child. I may be, you know, a little bit older now, but I don't want kids because I've been grooming this kid, and I'm thinking this is my legacy, and I find out that it's not. It's not my legacy. I've been lied to, and in a lot of cases, you know, you go back to the cases, these men are still forced to pay. So you're forced to pay for somebody else's kid, and knowing that it's not your kid, and so that would mentally make you off balance, make you unstable a little bit, because I'm being forced to pay for something that's not mine. I've been lied to. I went through the court system, didn't receive any justice, and a lot of times some guys take justice in their own hands, and they figure out the best solution for them. So that's where it can get dangerous.
Right, and it can get not only dangerous. They did a story, Al, back in the past about a man that found out that the kids weren't his, and he not only assassinated the woman, he assassinated all the children. But before we go any deeper, Al, I'm going to run this trailer, and I want you to talk about why this trailer was so paramount and what you were thinking when you wrote this trailer. So I want you to sit back, and we're going to run this trailer. Hold tight.
His money doesn't go to his child. His money goes to the system.
Personal accountability is one of those things that just goes across the board.
It's none of his business how it's being spent. Just pay the money and we'll take care of the rest.
I see why people walk away. I see why dads walk away. And it's the system. It's the system that's driving them away.
I let her know I ain't got no money for no Jordans. You can call your dad or do whatever you gotta do, but you can get 2 pairs a year. That's it.
The non-custodial father has no rights. So mother just jumps up and says, "You can't see your child," I can't go see the child.
When he said that he was going to take all of my custodial rights away, I was literally devastated.
The family court is one of the most dangerous courtroom in the world.
This system makes it near impossible. I can't understand how most guys can even begin to approach the situation.
When a woman gets pregnant, one of these basketball players, baseball players, wealthy guys, it's called a cash register. Because that's what that child is. It's cash register.
There is no accountability. You write that check or you go to jail.
Oh man, that was a powerful trailer, Al. It was very powerful. And when I saw $5 billion are given to paternity fraud, but not only that, Al, not only $5 billion are given to paternity fraud, there's no accountability as it relates to these women that are more or less destroying the lives of these men, destroying their legacy, and to some degree, Al, impacting their purpose in life. Where did you get this information from, and why was it so paramount?
Well, through the research, so it's not $500 billion just for paternity fraud. It's for the family court system and child support. Mm-hmm. Child support right now is a $500 billion industry, right? And it's backed by through the government something called the Title 4D program. Mm-hmm. So each dollar collected by the state, they get matching funds from the federal government, and that's to help keep women off of welfare. Mm-hmm. So when Bill Clinton did his welfare reform system, then they really attach that to child support. So even if a woman is receiving any benefits, she has to have a child support case attached to that, and then the state goes after you for that. So usually the state, they won't they'll give her benefits right away, but then they'll let it build up. So by the time they catch up to you, you owe $45,000, $50,000, $60,000 in arrears.
Right.
And that's when they use that to incarcerate you. You don't have it, you get incarcerated. And that's what's setting a lot of brothers, a lot of men in general here in the States, setting them back because you're in a trap. So you and your girl can get into a dispute, or your ex or whatever, get into a dispute. She take off on you. Mm-hmm. She take off on you and just go down to the state. Well, I'm not able to live. I need this. Okay, just give me, what's his name? Just give me his name. If you have a social, that's even better. And then boom, they catch up to you later. So even the guys that have been paying but don't have receipts, not using canceled bank checks or using money orders to show receipts for that, it doesn't count. So you can say, I've been paying her cash for X amount of years. I take care of my kid. You don't have receipts on that. So they
crisis in America, Brother Greeze?
It's in the film, and we break it down and how guys have committed suicide, taken their lives. There was a gentleman, he set himself on fire in front of the courthouse.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, to protest what was going on against him. So paternity fraud it's a situation where if you can't detect that in the beginning, you're screwed. You're screwed. And I interviewed a family court judge, and he said, he just said, man, it's problematic. Don't know what to tell you, but once you go past 6 months of taking care of that kid, it's your kid. It's your kid, and you're going to take care of the kid. And if you try to escape that responsibility, that's when they're going to hit you with the child support, and then that can lead to incarceration, can lead to a whole host of other issues for you.
Right. Those that are watching.
Let me interrupt you. That's the only crime, fraud, that's perpetuated against men, only against men, and there's no penalty for it. There's no penalty.
Those that are watching this show, please go by the link on my page and go by Vimeo, and I want you to look at this documentary by Vimeo by Brother Al Greeze. A lot of American men need to be enlightened about what's going on, and they need to enlighten other men so they won't be victims of this negative system called paternity fraud. So please join the link on my page. Go on my page, look at the link, and I believe how much is it? $5.99 to see the documentary.
$5.99. You get to view it. You got 24 hours to view it as much as you can.
Right.
It's not that expensive. I made it. I wanted to have guys take a look at this because this is informative information that may save your life. It may save your life.
No doubt. I totally agree. It'll definitely save your life. And then also, at some point later in the show, guys, if you have been impacted by paternity fraud, click on the link from StreamYard and let's have a discussion. Now, before we go deeper into the show, who is Al Greeze and what inspired you to get into film?
Oh, man. When I saw Spike Lee, Do the Right Thing. Do the Right Thing. I'm from New York. And I went to high school upstate New York, up the suburb of Buffalo and Amherst. And when I came, I used to live with relatives up there, so I used to come back home and stuff, man. And when I saw Spike Lee Do the Right Thing, I was just blown away.
Right.
I was just blown away because he told a story that happened in Brooklyn, just a day in Brooklyn, and told the story of what can go down in Brooklyn. And when I saw that, I was blown away. I was like, wow, because I could relate to it. I could relate to the story. I could relate to the characters. I could relate to the whole thing. I saw that movie. I paid for it. Went to the movie theater and paid for it at least 10 times. At least 10 times. I kept going back in that, and I would get a buddy in high school. Elementary school going. I would get a buddy and be like, "Did you see Spike Lee Do the Right Thing?" No, we gotta go to the movie. We gotta go to the movies and get it. We gotta go. And when I set off went to college, I took a creative writing class. And it still wasn't in the filming. Still wasn't in the filming. And then my major was in finance. I didn't graduate, but I had an opportunity to go to Alaska. Moved to Alaska to work for a financial company out there. And one of my clients was reading scripts for TriStar Pictures. And she got in a car accident and she asked me, can I come to the house? I went to the house and she had all these scripts on the desk. And I was like, you write scripts? She said, no, I read for TriStar Pictures. They pay me to read them and I give them my input on it and send them back. I was like, wow, I always wanted to write one. She was like, oh, I teach you how to write one. And she broke down the process to me. And I wrote a script, and she turned me on to a lot of game, how to get in touch with the Hollywood executives. They have like the whole directory book. Purchased that book, and I left Alaska with a pocket full of money, and I went to California. I wrote the script. I was rolling around Beverly Hills and knocking on doors. I was getting in. I had, that New York game. I was getting in, and I was getting rejected. I was getting rejected a lot, and I didn't like that feeling. And I remember laying in a hotel bed, and I was looking up at the ceiling, was like, man, this is whack. You know, I'm getting rejected. And, you know, someone said, man, you're not right. Why don't you make it? Why don't you just make one? I was like, shit, I'm talking to myself. You know what I mean? I'm like, I don't know how to make one damn. You didn't know how to write one either. You didn't know how to write one. You just learned how to write one. So I went to film school. I was out there and I ran across, I started doing some research, looking around how to get in the film, how to do the film stuff, man. And I ran across this the guy, Dove Simon, and he was like, you know, come take my course. And I took his course. I knew how to put it together. I knew how to write it. I knew how to put it together. So I just started taking on projects that I could handle financially, because I didn't like the rejection of it. Trying to ask people for money. Do you believe it? Do you believe in me? Do you believe in my talent? I can get it done. And I just came back and put my head down and started grinding and got some money together.
Right.
A project that was. I better show you my credit score, man, to show you that. I kept going, and it led me to Frustrated, and Frustrated 2, and currently now I'm working on Frustrated 3.
No doubt.
That's how I got started, man. It was just a little process that as I look back at it, it's kind of funny, but I enjoyed it.
Well, you know, everything you say is the epitome of manhood, because manhood is a series of hills and valleys, victories and failures. And, you know, you're the epitome of going through manhood chronicles, but also overcoming. Is there a crisis on masculinity, and how did we get here, Brother Al Greeze?
Well, I can speak for what I've seen in the Black community.
Right.
And looking back at it, man, and when they, you know, this my perspective. When Black women align themselves with white women for the women's rights cause and all that, man, that's what, to me, that's when it started. And then that whole welfare system started looking in the late '60s, and you started having movies and stuff that came out like Claudine and such like that, and it made the man obsolete. It started making the Black man obsolete, and he didn't need to be in the household. And, you know, as long as he ain't in the household, we'll take care of you. Don't worry about the kid. But you're living in poverty.
Right.
Living in poverty. You're not able to work together. You're not able to come up together. You're not able to work. You're not able to work together and come up together. Because regardless of what your circumstances is, one day that can change. That can change if you got somebody working with you, not working against you. And now you start seeing young men being raised by single moms. You got a lot of young men being raised by single moms, and they all emotional. Mm-hmm. So the young cats now, they're all emotional.
Right.
They don't have no ability. They don't have that where, you know, that input coming from a man to kind of balance that out. And, you know, that's destroying it. I see it bringing down masculinity, and masculinity is under attack here. They call it toxic now. For you to be a man, it's toxic. It's not that. So I travel a lot, and in my travels, you go to other countries, that's appreciated. Mm-hmm. That's appreciated. They value that. And what comes along with that, with providing and protecting, especially protecting. Right. You know, usually you had the weak guys who women felt wasn't going to be able to protect them. They didn't get women. Now you got weak guys getting on, and the strong guys are viewed as toxic because they won't let you allow you to walk all over them and disrespect them like that. So you're toxic. You know, and you see a reverse. And then when you look at the Black community as a whole, we're in trouble. When you look at who's trying to lead, who's leading the way, and you're trying to isolate, get rid of men.
You know, and the sad thing about it, you know, we're going to do a global pandemic, and you know, a lot of people are struggling. A lot of our women are struggling, and a lot of women are complaining about provision and protection. And I've said several times that provision and protection comes with a price. You know, when you've explored the terrain to look at American men versus men of other countries, what characteristics do you see that stand out the most?
Well, being honest, when I travel, I ain't looking at men. I'm not looking at what they doing.
Right. But anecdotal.
Yeah, that's being real with you. But you see over there, one of my, you know, my favorite spots is Brazil. Everybody, I travel to Brazil a lot, man. And you see the men over there, you know, the masculine, how they carry themselves, how they conduct themselves. I talk to some of the brothers out there, And a lot of their complaints is that, you know, when guys from the States come out there, they kind of watered down versions, man. They're not as on top of their game, as strong, and they're making it harder for them.
Right.
They tell you, they peep game, they give you game, tell you, you know, come out here, man. Don't come out here with that, you know, that weak stuff, man. You gotta be strong. I'm like, shit. Look at me. Ain't nothing wrong about me saying I'm weak. But you know, so you see the contrast. And when you come over here and you try to show that strength, you're attacked for it. You're attacked for it, and over there it's respected. Mm-hmm. It's respected and expected of you. And over here, it's you know, get in touch with your, you know, being more in tune with feelings and all that shit. And I grew up, my dad, I had pops in the house who was no nonsense and did what had to be done. That's why I get up every day, work, get up in there every day, work, even when he's sick. He had kids, he had 7 kids. I'm the youngest out of 7. Mm-hmm. And you know, what he had to do, get up and go to work. I grew up around a grandmother who was a strong woman. My grandmother, very strong. And mm-hmm. once she was strong but feminine. You know what I mean? She'd do her hair up, and my grandmother liked to dress sexy and throw parties and of that. So she wasn't shoulders up and back up and all that. You know what I mean? But she was a strong woman, and she, you know, loved her family and was very protective of her family. Mm-hmm. And my dad was the same way. My dad, I did just tell you a quick story, and I remember coming home from school. One of my older brothers came home with his shirt ripped open. My dad had a policy: when you go to school, the way you leave home, you come back the same way. Clothes tucked in, should be neat and stuff. But this older gentleman grabbed my brother by the shirt and ripped his buttons off. And my dad said, you know, look here, you'll wait for me. I'll come and take you, bring you home from school. Mm-hmm. I didn't know the spec. No, he didn't say anything. I'm sorry, he didn't say anything. So we coming out of school, my dad showed up, and dad, hey, you know, coming out the door, giving us a hug. Come on, let's go home. So we're walking home, and my brother told my dad, that's the guy right there who ripped my shirt off. Dad said, oh, okay, come on, let's go across the street. We walked across the street, and my dad had a little 32 in his pants. I didn't know he had it, but he pulled out the 32, put it to the dude's head. You see these right here? These my babies. You put your hands on one of my babies again, I'll blow your brains out. Wow. And I'm looking, I'm like, holy shit. And my dad said, don't do tough. You don't put your hands on my baby. Right. Back, come on, babies, let's go. We walked home. And I looked at my brother, I was like, Pops is crazy. Right. We his legacy. Right. He's here to protect us and not let anybody else harm us. Right. And that's installed in me. I'm sorry. That's with me. You don't harm mine. You don't harm mine. And I got into conversations with my sister's significant others. Listen, I don't know how you feel about this one, but I die for this one. I don't know how you feel, but I protect my sisters. I have 2 sisters. I protect my 2 sisters. My sister's Italian, and that's how I was raised. You know, there's a fragile masculinity now that doesn't speak truth to power. And, you know, anytime men, you know, speak out unapologetically, you know, in the spirit of fairness, it's often attacked. And I can only imagine the pain and the pressure that a lot of these men are going through. They have been victims of something as negative as paternity fraud. You said a key word, Brother Al Greeze. You talked about legacy. And legacy is important. It's an important part of a man's psyche. Men are more or less impressed upon going forward when they know their legacy is intact. But now with the court systems being as dangerous as they are, about 80%, 70 to 80% of marriages divorces are initiated by women. And a lot of men are saying, what's the whole purpose of getting married? But more or less getting married to women in America. What's your take on that, brother? Well, it is. I'm part of a group, man, on Facebook called Black Man's Option Group. And mm-hmm. about 20,000 guys in there. And no doubt. We travel. We travel to other countries and look for our happiness abroad. Like I said, I got friends, I got family members, man, watch them get beat up, having their children taken away from them, have to spend exorbitant amounts of money fighting in the court system just to be a part of their kid's life. Mm-hmm. It's troubling to the point where if you're smart and you witness this, you don't want to be a part of this. I mean, one of the saddest things I've witnessed was a friend of mine whose daughter was graduating from middle school into high school, and the mother kept the child away from him. He couldn't get tickets. He couldn't even get tickets to his own daughter's graduation. And he begged the principal, to let him come in, and he'll stand in the back. And when her name is called, he just wanted with his phone to let her know that he was there. And he would leave. He wouldn't cause a scene. He would just record it. Then he would leave. And he told her, if you stay in the back, you can do that. Now, why would you have to go through that process to be a part of your own child's life? Just to be in your own part, and then the negative side coming from the other side, where your daddy wasn't here, your daddy ain't shit, your daddy ain't this, and they get fed that, and then the kid grows up, and it becomes cyclical because they repeat that cycle.
Right. And not only does it become cyclical, but it also becomes very damaging on the long-term impacts of the mental health of children. As a clinical therapist, man, I've seen the negative impact of kids that grow up in broken homes without fathers. A lot of times they don't have an identity, which in essence, reduces their ability to have a legacy. But also, Brother Al Greeze, to have what's something called arrested development. The development has been arrested because they don't have the men to give them the power and the knowledge to help them become those stones or pillars in their community that can be vital long term. When you look at modern America compared to when you grew up in New York, and I know you touched on it a little bit, what are you fearful of? What are the things that you're afraid of?
Oh, I'm not afraid of shit. I'm just being honest. I'm nothing that I'm afraid of.
Right.
There's things that concern me.
That concern
me very much, and that's as I'm getting older, I'm thinking about my own legacy.
No doubt.
And I know I can't do it's too much of a risk even to try that risk here. And after all the research and stuff that I've done and seen, and I don't think I'm Superman where somehow I can escape that or avoid that.
Right.
So yeah, it's just too much of a risk for me to attempt to start a legacy here or have kids here, knowing that I may fall into that cycle and may fall into that system. So for me, the best way to beat that system is to stay out of that. So I want to avoid that at all costs. So going back to what you said earlier, like I know individuals who don't know who their father is, and that's kept from the mother, and they have identity crisis because they don't know where they come from. If you don't know where you come from, it's hard to know where you're going.
Yes, I agree.
I know a lot of them that don't know who their father is, and that's the mother. That's the mother. And then just to be frank, you do that to your child, and then you send your child out there in the world with no nuggets, nuggets, know where they come from, where they're going, their legacy, what legacy they are part of, and what's expected of them. So when you come from, there's certain expectations from the family that they expect from you, and sending kids out there, and that's despicable. And that's women that do that. You look at paternity fraud, that's a crime 100% committed by women. 100%. So when they look at the black community and talk that shit, when I look at how you reproduce and how you have kids and not knowing who the father is, to me that's a sign of an irresponsible mother. You can't even tell me who the kid's father is. That's the first one. That's the first one. And then because you have this system in place, you can pick any Tom, Dick, and Harry, and you get rewarded for it. So when they talk about trying to repair or talk about generational wealth, it starts with the family.
No doubt.
Wealth and your family ain't intact. We still struggling with that shit since the 70s. Because you go back research before that, when the black family was intact, we did well. We did well. We had one father home working and can send kids to college. They knew what was expected of them. And then when they introduced that system, that welfare system, and the women's lib shit and talking about, that's the beef between the white man and the white woman. That wasn't the black woman's beef.
Right.
That's not your issue. That's white folks' issue.
Right.
He won the country. He was running the country back then. If he wasn't getting in, he had to go through him. That wasn't your beef. You should have stayed out of that. And keep continuing what we were doing. But you joined that, and look where you're at today.
Right. And not only that, but getting worse. I've always said, I've posed this question several times. I said at the macro level, I always ask some of our women, I say, how did black men create policies to create this social malaise that we have now? And black men never created policies to more or less impact black women or the black family. Now listen, were there social issues and more or less domestic issues with black men and black women? Sure, but that's endemic to all ethnic groups. But to accost, a whole community of black men and say, we more or less oppress them, to me, it's very problematic. It's very problematic, Brother Greeze. And I agree with you. I think a vibrant class of intellectuals can only be as vibrant as the fathers and the mothers that nurture them and guide them. And when you look at your life as a kid growing up, what are you more or less, how can I say it? What are you grateful for? When you look at the life of Al Greeze as a young man growing up, what are you grateful for when you see this mess in society now? What are you grateful for?
Well, I'm grateful for my grandparents. Grandparents. I'm grateful for the time I did. My dad always he liked to lecture you a lot. Always wanted to give you something. And I remember when I reached puberty, man, at that age, my dad sat me down and he was like, you know where babies come from? And my dad was no nonsense dude. I didn't want to say, he come from, getting that thing. I said, they come from the stalk breakers. Man, sit your ass down. He got a book, opened up a book, and started breaking it down. And he was like, if you can't get up with them, don't lay down with them. If you can't get up with them, don't lay down with them. You understand what I'm saying, son? Which I didn't. He said, if you can't get up with them, don't lay down with them. And he tricked me. He tricked me after that. Then he was like, he came back to me about a month later. He said, hey, man, would you like a dog? I said, yeah, I love dogs, man. Okay, we get you a dog, man. What kind of dog you want? Oh, man, give me a German Shepherd. German Shepherd, coming up. Got me the dog. I was like, oh, man, I thought it was the family dog. I got 6 older brothers and sisters, man. I was a family dog. And my dad got the dog, and he's like, oh, you got to get up a little early now because you got to walk your dog before you go to school. I was like, damn, I got to get up early. Yeah, you got to walk the dog. Your dog needs some food, man. Shit, you got to do some chores, man. You can go wash your car. Wash the car, I gave you $20. Go wash the car, I got $20 now. Go get your dog some food. And I was like, damn. And, how you like to stay after school and play ball and all that? You got to come home and walk your dog. Dog can't shit in my house. You got to come home and walk your dog. Right. I was like, man, this dog getting on my nerves. I can't stand this dog. So he started seeing me develop an attitude towards that shit, man. And then he pulled me to the side. He said, how you think I feel? When I'm sick, I got kids. I got to feed. Y'all. Close that. It's not my responsibility. I'm just trying to show you before you go out there carelessly making mistakes, creating life that you're not prepared for. This is some of the stuff you're gonna have to go through. So once again, remember I told you before, if you can't lay down, if you can't get up with them, don't lay down with them. Don't lay down. And protect yourself at all times, man. And you know about these things here. Pull out the condoms. No, but yeah, I'm gonna show you the game. And he spit game to me, so I didn't go out there naked. I didn't go out there naked, not knowing anything and knowing the consequences, the responsibilities that come with that. So that shit scared me. Right. Now, what I was scared of, I was scared of that shit back in the day. And I was able to, I've always been safe with it, but I dodged some bullets. I dodged some bullets. But as I gotten older, so I understood the responsibility of that. So I'm grateful that somebody instilled some stuff in me, and before I went out here in the world, not knowing nothing. So from the family, and I had that. So I'm grateful for that, man. I'm grateful somebody took time to tell me something.
Right. You did a clip, Brother Greeze, as part of your documentary, and so listen. Those in the media, go check this film out by Brother Al Greeze called Frustrated 2. Go look at Frustrated 2. Click on the link on my page and go look at Frustrated 2. And at some point, if anyone want to come in and join the conversation, there's been a victim of paternity fraud. Please join me and Brother Al Greeze, and we can chop up some game and look at it from an anecdotal and also relationship perspective. From your experience and through collaboration with other men, how would you rate the power of the pain of a man who finds out the child is not his. And I know that's subjective, but just talking to these men. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, men are taught to kind of endure and just push along, go ahead, endure that shit, man, and it is what it is. Mm-hmm. And you get some men. I couldn't imagine being held for a tab for 21 years to pay for something that's not mine,
right? And
having 33 to 20%, 33 to almost 40% of my income taken from me, and to pay for something that's not mine. And don't forget, you still got to pay a third in taxes. And imagine what you have to live off of, the amount left you have to live off. So a lot of guys got to go back home to mama's house, in the basement or back in the room, to try to endure this injustice, and you can't seek help from nowhere. No one's going to help you. You can't get help. You go through the court system, you're denied. They tell you, put you on the books and take money from you. So a lot of guys, they suffer in silence. They suffer in silence. They figured, shit, it is what it is. I should have chose a better pick a choice of woman to lay down with. I didn't know she was like that. And what I try to do when I speak to guys like that, to try not to play the victim, because when you play the victim role, that shit lasts for a long time,
right?
Even past that, because you can't get over that. You can't get through that. And she wasn't who you thought she was,
right?
And you got to learn to evaluate the one that you want to lay down with. You got to. It's problematic. It's troubling because society doesn't care. It doesn't care. They know it exists, and it's sad that some men know that it exists. That's in positions of power, but it's all driven by revenue.
Right.
It's all driven by revenue. You can go to the lawyer to help you. All he's going to do is argue for you, because lawyers make money arguing. They don't make money resolving the issues for you.
Right.
So I know guys that put second mortgages on their houses. They go in there and fight this and end up with no result and still stuck at the end, and went through pensions, just trying to damage the fight. And then you get guys that begin to self-medicate,
right?
Start drinking, try to do something to ease the pain because you can't get help. Nobody cares. Everybody knows this. It's an issue. You can go to the government. Paternity fraud. Nah, so what? Me, so what? It's robbing me. I'm paying for shit that's not mine, and you're taking X amount. How can I live? How can I go on with life? And they're not concerned. It's not concerned. So, I made the film to let brothers know, men know in general, somebody do care. I was trying to bring light to the situation. And it's an uphill battle, but I don't want guys to play the victim. I know it's hard. It's easy for me to say because I'm not in the situation, but you being a psychologist, you start playing the victim role. That shit that lasts a lot longer than trying to overcome it and not compounding the situation.
No, you're right. You're correct. I tell clients, it's not that you weren't a victim. You were a victim, but you do not have to wallow in your victimhood, because when you wallow in your victimhood, then you give the perpetrator power over your psyche. And so I can only imagine the pain of knowing that the child is not mine. But I'm gonna run this clip, Brother Al. Tell me what you were thinking about in this quick clip, and I want you to break it down to the audience. Hold tight.
So now let's say you've been paying child support to this child for 4 years. And you're getting visitation. You have a relationship now. Now, yes, you find out that it's not your child. And it's a shock. And it's such that you want to get that money back. You're getting it back from a child you have a relationship with. A court might very well say, you can't.
Can I stop payments?
That could become problematic.
What was going on in that clip that you did in that powerful film? What was going on in that clip, brother?
What's funny about that clip? My nephew. I brought my nephew along with. My nephew is a graduated film major as well. And I felt so excited to be able to hire my nephew and bring him along. And I had to edit it, because when he said that right there, when I asked him, can I stop payments? And he said, well, that could become problematic. My nephew just blurted out. He said, what the fuck? My nephew couldn't believe it. I had to cut. And I played that clip, and that's a family court judge,
right?
Who I was interviewing, to really let brothers know, before I try to help those before they get into the system. Those that are in the system like that, it's rough on them. So you try to save as many as you can from entering it, and providing that information, and how blunt and truthful he was in saying that, And I asked him point blank, man. So he told you, so what? You find out that it's not your child. You're hurt. You see how nonchalant he was, and you're hurt. A court can tell you no. And I said, well, can I stop? No. That may be problematic. That's going to be problematic for you, because you ain't going to be able to stop that. And that's the court. So I wanted brothers to see what you're up against before you enter the system. The best way to beat that system is to stay out of that system. And you have to choose wisely. I mean, I know it's hard, so we have to start dating from the neck up and stop looking from the neck down. I know the neck down look good. It'll all look good down there, but you got to start using the neck up before you start, and who you have in your legacy with, and really watch these women, whoever you're close with. You have to test them and all that shit, man, before you enter that with them, because if you look like she's a little shady, got a little shady past, it has some dudes on the side that's still hanging on, and I cut them loose, and got all that social media shit going on. And you can get caught up in that, and you look 2 years later looking at this kid like, damn, he looked like old boy. He don't look like me at all. It's too late.
Right.
It's too late. And she'll sit there and deny that shit all the way to the end. She'll sit there and deny it. And most of the time, the relationship they involved on the other side can't provide like you can.
Right.
Provide like you can, because if they could, they would be over there. So they'll sit there and deny that shit all the way to the end. And I was working to make paternity before the birth certificate is signed, to do what's the test, man? Before to tell you
adenogene.
Well, not adenogene. Well, with the court, when you want to have a kid, man, they do for the girl that she go in there and take the blood test, work, whatever. But make that, it's in the film, I broke it down in the film too, man, to make it mandatory during childbirth.
Right.
During childbirth, so, because if you ask for it afterwards, that's when a lot of guys don't want to go that route, because she gonna flare up. What you trying to say? You think I'm cheating on you and all that stuff? And I ain't got to do all that. It's your kid, and they'll give you the guilt trip, and you'll fall in line. Like, okay, my baby good. She wouldn't do that, man. But if you made it mandatory during childbirth, that will eliminate that. That will eliminate paternity fraud 100%. Just something simple as that. Just making that mandatory during childbirth would eliminate paternity fraud. And I came up with a solution for it, man. That's how you get rid of it. And a lot of guys got to ask for that up front, man. So listen, okay, you're pregnant, we're having a kid. I want a paternity test. I want a test.
And it's ironic you said that, because that was my next question. My next question was, in your opinion, should men demand paternity tests? And you're right. I think a lot of men get caught up in the hype, and they get caught up in the psychic, the psychic manipulation, which is another form of gaslighting. Because a lot of times I tell men, well, I'm sure to trust your gut. Your gut, a lot of times, if you got a gut instinct that something's going on normally, your gut is right. And a lot of men would have been saved from this negative indictment of child paternity fraud if they had trusted their gut. And so, we want to see fairness and justice not only for our men, but women, but also for our men. And when a man is given the burden of taking care of another person's child that's not his, that's a serious matter. When your legacy, which is your money, where your mental health and all, is taken away. And the thing that's sad to me, Brother Greeze, in my opinion, is that what's sad to me is that you talked about men crying in silence. A lot of times men are not heard for the pain that they endure. Their pain is minimized. And I think it's very negative. It's a public health and a mental health crisis when men are minimized for their pain because society more or less don't care.
Right, and yeah, and if it was reversed, women wouldn't shut up about it. They would not shut up about it. If they had that type of injustice done to them, they would not shut up about it. So men need to make more noise. You need to make more noise about it. I know it's challenging because through the court system, you're not going to get any help. You're not going to get any help through the court system there because it's all revenue driven. It's all revenue driven. And the lady in the film, she breaks down that whole Title 4D program, and that's what the states getting their money from, and that's why each state has a child protection agency, child payment collection agency. Each state has it because you can't get any federal funding and stuff because they get matching funds through that. So they're on that. But men need to, you got to listen. Like you said, if you see something in the beginning, you got to say something. Listen, I want a paternity test. I don't give a damn. I ain't signing nothing. I ain't signing nothing. We were not married, or even if we are married. Shit, the mailman. I saw the mailman truck out there too goddamn long. What the UPS dude doing out there, or Amazon? I don't give a damn. I got to know 100%, so I can sleep good at night. I want to be able to sleep good at night.
Fate is before you. Choose wisely.